I play a lot of Bandai card games, so when Bandai announced this past fall that they're making a new card game, Battle Spirits, to release this next year in spring, I was immediately interested. And if you're watching this video, you probably saw this announcement.
Battle Spirits Saga, with cash prize tournaments upon product release, and a total prize pool of $1 million!
And then became immediately interested. Hey everyone, Eggman here with another video, and today we're going to go over all of the new information dropped for Bandai's new card game, Battle Spirits Saga, which is releasing this upcoming spring. I'm really excited for this, and I hope you guys will be by the end of this video. There's a lot to go over, so I just kind of want to jump on into it. Before I do recommend checking out their website and as well as their Twitter, making sure to follow that. There will be links to the descriptions for those, but just they're going to be where all the information is, and a lot of the information that I'm using for this video too. So if you guys want to see it yourselves, they'll be linked there. But going over the website, obviously spring 2023, and we do have these reveal trailers as well for the prizing and everything else. But also just kind of what Battle Spirit Saga is. And for people who don't really know, so obviously Bandai makes a bunch of card games, and all of the ones that I cover, like Digimon, Dragon Ball Super, One Piece, all of those they cover. But they also do have another card game that's been in Japan for a really long time. So it originally released in 2008 with Mike Elliott, who designed the game, who's just known for working for Magic and a bunch of other card games, and it's been running for 14 years. And so that's really cool. And like, there's nothing about this on this side. Obviously, they've introduced other card games for us, and I think they think we're ready for Battle Spirits. So we are getting our own version of Battle Spirits too. So this isn't just our like an expansion for it, or like getting into it, because there's 60 booster sets in Japan for this game. That's a lot. That's pretty much all of the English releases for One Piece, Dragon Ball, and Digimon put all together. They still have like twice as many as us. So that's really, really cool. But it's going to be kind of just a new card game based off of the Japanese card game. Again, it's not going to be exactly the same. I think there's going to be some new rulings, such as a mulligan system for us, as well as increasing the deck size from 40 to 50, and surely some other differences, but those are the ones I know for sure. So that's really, really cool, being able to have a card game like this, as well as one that will have a prize pool as well, which I think is amazing for developing a new card game like this. So going over the products as well, we do know that there will be 4 different starter decks that will be coming out at least on release, and there are going to be 4 colors. There's going to be red, purple, white, and yellow, which are really interesting colors, at least compared to like Bandai's other card games. Like Dragon Ball Super launched with red, green, yellow, and blue. And then we had Digimon, which released with red, yellow, blue, and green. And now we have One Piece that is releasing with red, blue, green, and purple. And now we have this, which is just red, purple, white, and yellow. So it's really interesting. Like, red's always going to be there. Red's 100%, and yellow, it seems, except for One Piece. One Piece doesn't have yellow. That's crazy. I don't know. They really mixed up the colors, which is fun. But we do have this, so obviously starter decks, and then their first set, 272 types total, which is pretty common for the other card games we've been seeing. $4.99 for packs, and then obviously you can get a box for 24 packs there, as well as this Battle Spirits Saga core set, which I don't know what's in this outright, but I'm going to assume that this is going to be somewhat of just like core cards that have been really influential in probably the Japanese card game, that they're saying, you know what, people need to have these cards. But I have no idea. I have no idea what this is. It's going to be interesting, but I'm sure it's going to probably be something like that, where it's just a bunch of good cards that we know in the 14 years it's been in Japan. And that's kind of the idea for it. But those are just kind of the products we've got, and I'm going to make another video going over the exact rulings, but I did want to just quickly cover how this game works, and just for people who are interested, just how the basic mechanics works before kind of jumping on into it. So let's look at that real quick. And here is the rules manual that is on their website. Again, this is just going to be a quick overview, but I did want to kind of show you guys how this game works, as well as compare it to the other Bandai card games. And if I was to say which one it was closest to, I'd probably say it's closest to One Piece, just on how the resource management works and everything else. Essentially, you have these things called core, which not only is how you pay the cost for things, but you can put your cores on top of things to power them up and make them more powerful. So really similar to kind of how the dawn mechanic works in One Piece. So that's kind of the similarity there. So more or less, the way you start this game is that you have some cores, and you also put cores in your life, which is really interesting. So in Dragon Ball and in One Piece, whenever you take damage, you get to draw cards out of your life. And for Digimon, your opponent swings into your security, which can have some effects that trigger in there. In this game, whenever you take damage, you get to actually ramp up one of your cores. So let's say you have 5 cores, which are 5 resources, and your opponent does damage to you. You now have 6 cores to be able to do stuff with. So I think that's really interesting as well. But yeah, you always just once per turn you get one more core, and you kind of just casually ramp it there. So unlike Dragon Ball, where you have to use cards in your hand to put it into your energy, this game you just naturally get one more every turn, which is quite nice. But obviously there's ways to add cores and delete cores with some cards as well. But that's just the generic, you get one core every turn to help you pay for costs and get some resources out too. So that's the idea. And then you use these cores to play for cards, but there's also some really cool stuff where you can reduce the cost of your cards by having other cards out. And we're going to have some cards shown at the end to really give some more examples so you guys can see it. But that is just how the game is played. And something else that's different is that in all 3 of the Bandai card games that exist right now, you have like this passive kind of like main step where you're able to play a card and then attack with a card and then play a different card. And like you can just kind of willy-nilly go between attacking with cards and playing cards. In this game, you have only one main step, and then after that, you go into the battle step too, which is really interesting. So, very similar to other to the card game too, where you have a exhausted and refresh, so you turn it sideways and then set it active. There's ways to block with your spirits. Everything has a block as far as I know, so you can do some blocking with it, which is interesting. And there's also some counter steps as well. So you're able to, they're called flash windows, and they're kind of put right here, right behind my head. But essentially, there are 2 flash windows in the attack before and after declaring it block. You can use cards effect with flash during the windows, pay the cost, and then use them as described. And then also defending player gets the first chance to either use a flash or pass, followed by the attacker, then the defender again, and so on, switching back and forth. Resolve the flash effects immediately, a flash window, and when 2 passes in a row. So it's kind of like combos in Dragon Ball Super, but instead of like all of one player and then all of one player, you can keep going back and forth until you've both kind of satisfied that I'm done with these combos or with these flash abilities, and we'll just do the battle from there. So pretty self-explanatory, I think so. And again, it looks I'd say like closer to a One Piece Dragon Ball Super hybrid, which obviously One Piece and Dragon Ball are really similar in the first place, but that's really cool. There are also some things here. We're going to go to the playmat too. There's this burst area as well. So some cards have a burst ability. So you put it face down, and then it has a trigger activation. And so when your opponent meets that condition, you flip the card over and you activate that burst. So that's kind of how that works. And you only get one, but you can replace it if you decide that, that's not going to happen anymore. We're going to switch it. And you'll see here, we have our life right here. So we have 5 life, and then you move them to your reserve. So you take a core here, you put in your reserve, and now you have more to do so. And so it's really interesting. I think this is a really fun card game in a lot of ways. And it's just it's resource management and being able to have such a flexible kind of energy system where you're able to use these cores as you want to either power up one thing, or you can go wide with them. There's just a lot you can do, and I think that's really, really cool for a card game. So that is just the quick rundown. Again, we're going to make another video going over the more in depth, but that's just how the game works as an overview. And then let's go look at some cards as well, so maybe help you guys look at how this all works. and for some cards from this game as well. And I do want to mention that none of these cards are final, either functionally or design-wise, but they are just to be used to show you guys how they work and what they look like and just kind of how the feel of this game kind of works. So we're going to start off with this first little spirit here. So as you can see, it has a 2 in the top left, so it does cost 2 cores to play. And then it does have those 2 little dots in Dragon Ball Super. That'd be kind of seen as specified energy for cost, but how it works in this game is that is the max amount of reduction that can happen to play this guy. So you'll see in the bottom right, it does have that red on the bottom right. That means that if this is out on the field, it does offer 1 reduction to another card you're trying to play. So essentially, if you have a drag-drawn trooper out, or you have 2 of them and you're trying to play a third one, since you have 2 of those red dots on the field, it means you can reduce the card you're playing by 2, which means you can play this for essentially 0. Now, you do need to have a core on your spirits to make sure that they stay. You can't play it without a spirit. It needs to have one to be on the field, but that's kind of how that works. And then you'll see as well a level in the bottom left. So there's like level 1 and level 2. There are more levels. We'll see more cards with more levels, but essentially that just means based on how many cores you have on this card is what level it is, and some effects are dependent on what level you are as well as how powerful it is. So it has 1,000 power if you're level 1, so if you have 1 core on it, and then if you have 2 or more, it's level 2, which means that you have 3k power, which is pretty good. Then also has a level 1 and level 2 effect on when the spirit attacks. The spirit gains plus 2,000 BP. So that kind of makes sense. Hopefully you guys are able to do that. If you have any questions literally about any of these cards or mechanics, let me know in the comments. I'll do my best to answer them. Obviously, this is still new to me, but I think I have a pretty good grasp on how that works. So essentially, pay this for 2. You can reduce its cost by at least 2, and then it's level 1 with 1 core, level 2 with at least 2 cores, and it has 1,000 or 3,000 BP respectively. So, all right, cool there. Next up, we do have this guard here. So this is Dragno Guard. It is 3 costs. You can reduce it up to 3. It has 1 reduction in the bottom right, and then it has it's level 1 with 1, level 2 with 2, and level 3 with 4. And then for every one of those levels, while the spirit attacks, when this spirit destroys one of your opponent's spirits via comparing battle or BP, so essentially when it attacks and it destroys by battle, select one of your opponent's nexuses and destroy it. And we're going to show off a nexus in just a minute, but nexuses are kind of like field cards in Dragon Ball Super, or event cards, stage cards in One Piece, and also kind of like tamers in Digimon. I know Digimon is the least similar to this as compared to other Bandai card games, but that's kind of how that works there. So, all right, next up, we have this Moonbow Dragoon. So it costs 4. You can reduce that cost by up to 3. And then it has another reduction in the bottom right. It has level 1 for 1 for 3,000, level 2 for 4 for 6,000, and then level 3 for 7, where it's 8,000 power there. So you can see that these powers can really kind of ramp up with some of these cards. And then for all 3, it has a flash ability. So this is, again, kind of like the counter step in One Piece, or the combo step for Dragon Ball Super. Awaken, you may remove any number of cores from your other spirits and place them onto this spirit. So this could be really handy. For example, let's say that this is a level 1 spirit, right? And your opponent is attacking into it when it with something with 4,000 BP, right? So you could use this flash ability to take cores from a different card that you have that has cores to give it 4 cores to make it a 6,000, right? So I think that's really interesting. So there is that counterplay for it there. It does have, it's called Awaken, so that's kind of like the keyword skill, and it just works like that. So obviously, again, very flexible with these cores, and also when you can remove as many cores from your other cards as you want, but if your spirit doesn't have any cores underneath them, or as like for One Piece, they don't have any Dawn underneath it, that could happen in One Piece and your card's fine. In this game, you need to have a core for your spirit to stay on the board. So you can remove it, it gets destroyed, and you don't get to activate the when destroyed effects from it. So there we go. All right, and then we've got this big boy, the Imperial Thunder Dragon Sigworm. So this is a 6 cost. You can reduce it up to 3. So you have to pay at least 3 for this. It has it has 3 levels, and for just 5, and we saw it over here for the previous one that you need 7 cores for 8,000, but for this one you can use 5 cores and get 9,000, which is quite nice. And then confront when attacking, your opponent must block if able to, and then it has a skill that's only for level 3, is that all of your spirits with awaken gain confront. So for example, this guy that we just saw, it does have awaken, which means that it will also have confront, which is kind of nice there. So that's how it's working. I hope it's kind of building up for how these work. These are all the spirit cards we're going to talk about today, but we do have also some nexuses as well as some magic cards as well. So next is Scorched Battlefield. So this is again, this is like a field card in Dragon Ball Super, where, and just like a event card, or sorry, a stage card or tamer. So it costs 4, you can reduce it up to 2. It has a 1 reduction in the bottom right, and then 2 levels. So level 1 and 2 for 0. So if this card just exists out there, which you can have nexuses exist without any cores, which is kind of nice. You just, all your spirits, red spirits gain plus 1000 BP and during your own attack step. And then also for 2 level, during your attack step, draw a card when you reduce your opponent's life. So if you put some cores on this and then you know that you're going to do some damage, you're able to draw some cards as well. So you get some flexibility there. All right, and those are all the cards for, at least those are all the cards that are naturally in the field. It is possible for the bottom right kind of diamond to have more than 1 red, so that is important there too. But just all the cards we're seeing today, just reduce it by 1. So, and then we do have double draw. So this is a magic card, cost 4, and you can reduce magic cards as well by having those cores out, which is kind of nice. Has a main effect which just lets you draw 2, but also a main and flash effect where you can select one of your spirits that gets plus 2,000 BP during this turn. So this would be something like when you're attacking, you can use the flash ability to give it the extra BP to get over something, or on the defense side to defend something as well. And then our last card we're going to talk about is Landmine. So this is Burst. This is a card that you can put in that little burst zone that we saw earlier. Burst when your opponent destroys your spirit. Select one of your opponent's spirit with 3,000 or fewer BP and destroy it. You may then play this card's cost to activate its flash effect. So from there you can you can pop something with the effect from the burst, and then also you can then pay 3 or 2, because there is a 1 cost reduction you can put on this to give something plus 2,000 BP for the rest of the turn. So I think it's really interesting. There's some cool stuff there. And that is just all the cards we're going to show off today. I might show off some other cards as they become available in the next couple of weeks and months, but hopefully that just kind of gives you an idea of how the flow of this game works, and just kind of how things are statted, and how you can do some really cool reduction chains and just kind of everything else. But that is going to be this video for us today. I hope you guys are excited for Battle Spirits just as much as I am, and it should be a really fun time. I'm really looking forward to more cards and more information as we get it. So again, thank you guys for watching. I really do appreciate it, and I'll catch you all next time.